everybody, and welcome to another episode of Hanukkah Erotica. I'm Raizel, and I'm here with Malya, my co-host and stepsis. Hi, Mal.
Hi. Good morning.
I like recording at this hour.
I do too. I feel fresher. I'm newly caffeinated. I'm not
I feel like
just
my voice is in a different pitch.
Yeah, I think we both sound a little more peppy.
A little more pep in our step.
Yeah, it's
Well,
good.
don't get too used to it, listeners, because pretty soon we'll be back to sleepy. But anyway,
Right.
hi.
Yes.
Any feedback from our last couple of eps?
So, okay, two things. Number one, a technical note that actually William just shared with me before the episode, but I feel is highly relevant, is William, our producer, made the executive producer decision that our Blue Tent episode, which was 2 episodes ago now, was the first one that ought to be labeled explicit.
Oh yeah, I saw that little E.
Which I think was the right decision, honestly. But I was like, well, what's the effect of that? And apparently, because now, we just got that email that Apple Podcasts can now be accessed through web browsers. That means that you can access the podcast without having signed in based on your age. And so podcasts labeled explicit are not available via the web browser. So if you logged on to Apple Podcasts via web browser, you wouldn't see the Blue Tent episode, which would be a shame because that was kind of a good one. But also, we wouldn't want an unsuspecting 10-year-old browsing and happening upon that, in my humble opinion.
Absolutely not.
So we're responsible podcasters
a
here.
child doing a book report, trying to cut corners.
No.
No,
Not book report material.
absolutely not.
Oh, and also, William's reminding me there's now a transcript feature where the podcasts get automatically transcribed. So fear not, anyone scouring the internet, Raizel, and looking for us can now see our transcribed readings of the Blue Tent, but not children. Children won't. So,
I feel better about all of this.
there's that. Yeah, exactly.
But also, the thing is that the Apple browser news, I feel like, is a big deal because back when all of podcasting, I feel like at the very beginning of podcasting, the only thing people knew was This American Life, and you couldn't really listen to it unless you were listening directly on NPR or if you had an iPhone and an Apple account. And
Yeah,
then
you're right.
people, so it's very cool. You could just open up your web browser and listen to Apple Podcasts, no matter what kind of phone you have.
Yeah. I also remember back in the day when William and I used to listen to Howard Stern, and he would always mock podcasters, oh, you're a podcaster. The podcasters would be like, oh, me and Howard were both in the biz. He's a radio host, and I'm a podcaster. And he'd be like, no, we're not both in the biz. You're a random person in your basement with a microphone, and I'm Howard Stern. But I feel like that's really changed. We are.
Of course it has.
We're colleagues
Of course
with
it
Howard.
has. But the thing is, we are. We're colleagues with Howard. But anytime I mention my podcast casually and Binny's around, she's like, "You're famous. You're
so
famous,
cute.
Mommy." I'm not famous, but there's
Aw.
a few people that really care and listen.
To her, you are. That's really sweet.
Yeah, you're famous. So the Blue Tent episode got some people blushing.
Yeah, for sure. My mom really liked it. She told me she listened to it, she was doing her Shabbat cooking, and she was like, let me listen to a Hanukkah Erotica episode, and she picked that one, and she said she was cracking up.
Wow, that makes me so happy.
Really cute. Yeah, I like that.
Recently, someone asked me what's a good, that they hadn't been listening for a little while, what's a good episode to get them back into it? I didn't suggest the Blue Tent, though maybe I should have, but I suggested Lolita Leonard's of Great Neck, just because I feel like that was a great one. And
That was a really good one. Really sweet.
Definitely a good one to a stepping stone to get back in. 8-way.
The other thing I just wanted to address, just pivoting about the last episode, Craving Flight, which was just released a couple days ago. But I was listening back to it, and it was the first episode where I felt a little cringe about my own how my take on the book came off. I felt like I came off very I don't understand. What is this? How could people be interested in this type of sex? It feels unsafe. That I was just, I wasn't acknowledging that it's a fun fantasy. Part of the fantasy is that it's unsafe, and that's what makes it fun. And I think your take at the end was right. It's analyzing the the setup for a porn movie. Like, you can't analyze it too much, or you just come off like you don't get the whole conceit. So I felt like I was a little too heavy on that, and it came off, I don't know, a little like prudish.
I hear you, but the thing is, like, there was some parts of the book that were cringe because this was a newly married couple who didn't really know each other. And so I get it, but I understand you don't want to kink shame, and we don't want to do that to anyone. And this is, and also it's like a very popular fantasy and kink.
Of course. And I get it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. There's so much I wish I could tell you. I got some feedback about it, but it was anonymous, and I can't share.
Wow.
I can't share, but I did hear a little bit more about what rabbis tell students when, like, boys, when they talk about sex and relationships in marriage. And I wish I could share more than that. I wish I could share more, but I can't.
Oh, man.
And
even anonymously you can't?
Anonymously I can't, but I heard that young students in high school have heard some things, like, about sex that they probably never even heard of, that and you know, but things that would surprise us.
Really? Because I went to an all-girls high school, and we had like a sex class in 12th grade, but it was exactly like what you would imagine it would be, which was like a lot of focus on relationships, a lot of focus on sex isn't one part of your relationship, but it's only one part. A lot of, like, there were a few like great lines that we would always repeat to ourselves because they were just funny. Like, a lot about, like, don't put too much expectation on your first time being so good. Like, it's going to be over very quickly, but you should just act like it was great because you don't want to make him feel self-conscious.
That's what they said when you were 17 in high school?
Yes.
This doesn't seem... Okay, keep going.
Not that you should be happy, like, not being satisfied generally in your relationship, but that the first time, just, like, don't... Because, you know, you're in a milieu where, like, it's his first time too, likely, or one of, and it might not be a lengthy or particularly pleasurable encounter, and just, like, you know, that's okay. So it's just the first time, which comes off a little ick, but I also think, you know, isn't the most unhealthy thing to say.
I just can't believe the details are okay. It just seems like a lot of information for
I don't know.
a group of children. It is a group of children.
It is, but aren't 17-year-olds, like, in the general world, like, pretty sexually knowledgeable, especially these days? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's polarizing. I get it. But yeah, so I'm just curious if there's something I thought that boys were probably getting, like, some equivalent of that.
They might be getting some equivalent of that, but also they might be getting a little more detail.
Interesting.
And you're reminding me of my sex ed in public school in Long Island. And we had this health teacher, Mr. Ziering, and, like, he always had a friend who did, my friend this, or he always had a friend. Every single story he ever said was like, trust me, I have a friend.
Right.
And one thing I remember when I was 17, as he was like, never flush a condom.
That's really funny.
It pops back up. Never flush a condom.
Just as, like,
a little different.
Never flush a condom because it won't successfully flush, or because it'll clog your drain, or, like, what's the... I don't get it.
It doesn't
just
successfully flush. It pops back up. If you're trying to hide some... Don't flush it, folks.
That's really... It's actually funny because a couple of years ago, you know, our house in South New Jersey has its own septic system because it's, like, in the middle of nowhere, and you have to get it drained every couple of years. So they were there doing it, and they were pulling out condoms, like, were coming out of the septic system.
Oh my God.
And they were like... And we were all seeing it, and I had, like, just had a baby, I think, and we had all our kids, and William was like, they're not ours. And, like, gestured to all the kids, and the septic guy was like, ho, ha, ha, ha. And I was like, yep, here we are.
Oh my God, amazing.
So that was funny. So it's true. Mr. Ziering was right. Ziering?
Yeah, Ziering, yeah.
Yeah, he was right.
Yeah.
Great and one teacher. More thing. Oh, was he? Oh, that's good. That's an important role.
Yeah.
One more thing I wanted to mention is just a continued follow-up that no one really cares about.
Oh yeah, I want to hear about this.
Me,
yes, I think I know where this is going.
We had briefly discussed doing a live event at the Bang It Out Tuba Of party, which is a big Upper West Side singles event every year. The Galena brothers, William and I met at that event famously through Rachel and our friend Yitz. That was our shidduch spot on Tu B'Av, so it's meaningful for us, for all three of us.
Amazing.
And I had messaged Isaac Galino, who's one of the two brothers who runs it. He was initially interested in us coming, but then never followed up. And I just sort of figured like, they weren't really that interested. But then the event was, I think, Monday night. He messaged me that day and he was like, oh, I totally forgot about this. Can you guys still come? We could set up a table. And I was like, oh my God, no, we can't still come, but that's so nice that you want us. And I'll be better about following up in 2025. So
Definitely.
I thought that was really sweet. And I should have followed up more about it. And I hopefully will next year.
I wonder how that party was.
There's always a lot of pictures of it online, which I enjoy going through. I feel like I didn't see as many this year, but maybe I don't know. Maybe my algorithm has changed or something.
My algorithm is really, oof. I don't see anyone I know. All I see is like videos about perimenopause.
I get those too.
It's so intense. Like, I don't see anyone I know. And the reels that pop up, it's not like of accounts I follow. Like, it's like I tried to get off TikTok and now Instagram's just that. Right. I didn't see anything from Tu B'Av.
I think I saw like one random picture or two that like Seth and Isaac were posting on their Insta stories, but I usually see like a big photo album of lots of people, and it's always fun to be like, who's still there, who I remember from like Tu B'Av 2009, like who was single Tu B'Av 2009, got married, got divorced, and is now back in 2024. Like, it's just like, that's a fun
wearing that sexy white.
Exactly. So fun.
I had a great dress that night that you guys met. I loved my dress. It was this like white cotton dress with like a little belt thing. I got it at Urban Outfitters. Felt like $1,000. Yeah. I
had this hairstyle where I was like straighten my bangs, but my hair was curly, which I thought looked great at the time. But now when I look back at those photos, I'm like, what was I doing
Absolutely
here?
not. No, you looked great. Like a little snack. I loved that look.
It's really weird. I don't know where that came from.
It was cute. It was great.
Thank you.
But I was thinking about old hairstyles. I'm wondering, like, so I don't think certain things will ever come back, but obviously I'm wrong. Everything cycles back. But like this side bang, I don't know. I just wonder if certain things are going to come back.
You were really good with the poof. You had a great, like that top head poof.
Yeah.
Will that come back?
I think it has some. I think in some circles it has. I see some
really?
videos that
You're
it's
not.
back.
You're over it, though.
I can't do it again. Of course, I can't go back there.
Yeah. I hear you.
It's like low waisted jeans, like C-section scar showing jeans. No, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
I can't go back. When the zipper was this big, like an 1.5-inch zipper,
totally,
and a tiny button, like the lowest jeans.
I think I still have like one pair of those that I bought, at Loman's, and I was like, I'm gonna tuck these away in case, but I should just pull the plug.
Honestly, you should just hang on to them. They will come back if you're going to feel comfortable wearing them, but I don't know.
Right.
Of course, once it becomes a trend and then everyone's wearing them, then, I'm like, a sheep and we'll wear the 1.5.
Yeah,
I don't know. They're
have a different viewpoint.
It's so much nicer. The butt looks better. Everything looks so much better when it's higher. It's like the low waisted, you can't even cover. It's just not. It's not into it. Anyway,
no, it's not. It's hard.
It's hard. We have so much to talk about though with this book.
I know. Let's move forward because I have a lot to say.
Although a lot of people gave us the feedback that this is their favorite part of the episode, us just shooting the breeze. So
like our colleague Howard, people always said the best was just him and Robin talking about the news, shooting the shit.
Exactly.
So I feel we're in good company there.
Exactly, like our colleague Howard Stern, that is our colleague.
Of course.
Other podcaster.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we are talking about Magical Meet Cute by Jean Meltzer, which comes out today, the day this episode is being released.
Yes.
So I want to say this for our listeners. This book is really good. And if you don't want spoilers, you could hit pause, read the book, and then come back to this episode in a couple days because you'll read it very quickly because it's great. It's called Magical Meet Cute. It's the 4th of her novels. It's so awesome. We have tons to talk about. But there will be spoilers in this conversation.
Yes, there have to be.
There will be spoilers. And since it comes out today, Molly and I just want to warn you, if you want to just hit pause, return to this, you're welcome to do so. You've been warned. But definitely check out the book. It's great.
So good.
And you're gonna enjoy it. So okay, this is Magical Meet Cute, and we are in Woodstock, New York,
Yes.
which I'm very excited about.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a whole subculture of Jews that Malya and I know intimately.
Mm-hmm.
One may even say Malya is one. I don't know. In a way. Not one.
Right.
You
No, you're
dabble.
right.
You have a farm.
Totally. Dabble. Absolutely. Adjacent.
And I have yo-yoed in and out.
You've made forays for sure.
I could, for example, name drop and play Jewish geography with people within this world.
Oh, endlessly.
With ease.
For sure.
With ease.
Oh, yeah.
Fluently. I'm fluent. And who am I talking about? What subculture of Jews am I talking about? It's like a new agey,
Mm-hmm.
Woodstock, Hudson Valley, Berkshires, upstate New York, farming Jewish subculture.
Right. Like,
Right?
yeah, hippies, like crunchy
Like
hippies.
modern day Jewish hippies.
Yeah.
Crunchy
Yeah.
Jews.
Right.
Similar to some Brooklyn Jews, not Brooklyn from Jews. We're talking about like Brooklyn liberal hippie Jews.
Right.
Similar but different. Again, a lot of overlap in the Venn diagram of these cultures. There's a lot of people that are in and out of both.
Totally. And there's a from version of this too. Although in this book, the people are not, no one's from in this book.
Yes, there's a from version of this. We've actually mentioned it on the podcast who like live in Sfat or maybe different parts of the world here.
Right.
But that is different than this just like new agey Woodstock, Hudson Valley Jewish person.
Yes.
But I'm very happy to be here because it's a community I love. It's a community I know well. And we have not read about,
No.
And the thing is, like, it's rich in like, this was very smart of Jean Meltzer.
Totally.
Because when I think about places like Isabella Friedman or, Isabella Friedman's a Jewish retreat center that
mentioned
Molly
in the
and I
book at the end.
Exactly. So it's like when I think about Isabella Friedman, when I think about Pearl Stone or some of these Jewish retreat centers, Molly and William have a farm. Like that is an amazing setting for a Jewish romance.
Totally.
Like Jewish farming, Jewish mysticism. In this book, we have a character who goes by Faye. Her name's Fega.
I love that name, by the way.
Oh yeah. Love it. We have a cousin, Faggy. I never even considered Fega. Like, Fega's really what is the name? Like, it's
I guess
Fega?
so. Yeah, Fega. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Love it. She goes by Faye, which I love. Like, I love that her name's really Fega, but she goes by Faye. And she has a pottery store in Woodstock, and she is a ceramist. And she creates pottery, sells pottery. One reason I was particularly excited about this is my algorithm that we just discussed.
Yes.
Have you ever been in like sexy men and clay TikTok or Reels?
No.
Like,
But I'm really glad that exists.
Okay, like I have seen these videos, okay? And it's just like these like hot, just like a hot man, okay?
Yes,
just like
right.
slinging clay on like some kind of pottery wheel.
Wow.
And you know how like, have you
Is
ever
he
seen
shirtless?
videos of people?
Like, what's he?
I don't remember honestly, but I've seen a few of these because like, when you watch to the end of a video, they'll serve you more.
Oh,
like,
yes.
I'm not swiping through that, right? Because also like, have you seen these people with this clay and it's like it's so soft and like buttery
The wheel
and like
is
slow
turning and it's
and, like,
of course.
the wheels turning and the ball's getting bigger and the bowl and they have to use their hands. They're so good with their hands and they're just I don't know on
Absolutely.
that pottery wheel.
Yeah.
So like I totally understand why this is part of the setting of this book because it is like so sultry.
Totally.
But I happen to know how sultry it is because this is like a whole of the internet I've been exposed to.
Wow.
Not for a little while, but when I was trying to tell you something at the end of our last episode, it was this is what I was holding my tongue about, that like these videos, I know how sexy pottery is.
That's really funny.
From
I may be forced to look that up now. I may look at some
I
reels.
have to send one to you and William. You'll both love it.
Okay.
So, and I think there's like a, may have to find, I will, by next episode, I will let everyone know, but like, I think there's a specific like hottie, and it's like called like Hot Potter or something. There's like a hottie who does this.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's many hotties who do this.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, it's something. So anyway, she is a former lawyer who had a law firm in the city and sold it. Also, like, of course, sold my law firm in my 20s. Okay. And moved to Woodstock. And so she's like in this world, but this world is like pretty. It's Jewish. Like there's a Jewish community.
Didn't she move up there because her best friend is like there is a woman who's married to another woman who's the rabbi or the cantor or something?
Right. Maybe Shulamit.
Yeah. There's a couple. Yeah, and one of them is her like best childhood friend.
Yeah, so there's like a shul, and the thing is, like, I want the shul to feel like even more like a Jewish renewal, like, you know, but it's okay. I don't know much about the shul, but like that picture could have been painted like even crunchier, in my opinion.
Totally. There
like,
wasn't so much of a focus. I want to be able to smell their BO off the page. Like, I want to smell their, you know what I mean? Like, I want to like see the knots in their hair. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to see the armpit hair that like you could braid, you know? Like, I want to whiff. They didn't.
Right, you want to see those tie-dye talisim.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like a kippa struga or like a hat. I don't know.
One of those like big like dreadlock hats,
yes,
but
like
worn
a
as a kippah.
hat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. I want more noodle dancing because the thing is, she's up there. We're in Woodstock, and so like I don't need it to. But okay, whatever. I get it.
We get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like right off the bat, you know, like Faye's single, and they're talking about like a single in the sukkah event. She's like, I don't want to go to single in the sukkah. She's like not into all this stuff.
Right.
And by the way, it's plot heavy. Like I don't want to just recap the plot, but like it is plot heavy. Like this book is nothing without plot.
Happens. Yeah.
A lot's happening. A lot's happening. And I guess she goes to the singles event. She's feeling, you know, a little blah, gets home. And what does she start doing with her clay?
She gets drunk first, right? She starts drinking.
She's drunk.
Yeah. Because we find out that her fiance broke up with her, like after a long relationship. And she has all this great wine in her closet that was supposed to be for the wedding, but now she's just stuck with. So she opens it up, she's drinking, and then out of her clay, she makes the figure of her perfect man, basically, right?
Yeah. So and the other thing that I'm obsessed with that I didn't mention and we need to is that like she's Jewish, but she also realizes that she's kind of a witch, and she considers herself to be a Jewwitch.
Right, she's a Jewwitch, right. That's her whole thing.
She's a Jewwitch.
Which I love. Had you ever heard of that term?
Obsessed.
Did Jean Meltzer make up that term?
I don't know, but like I'm so obsessed with it because I think I'm a witch. And so like I have premonitions. And so I think that I'm a little witchy.
Maybe you're a Jewwitch.
I'm obsessed with this term Jewwitch. Yeah, I think I am one.
That's great.
I feel like amazing about this term. Yeah.
Great. I really wonder if she made up the term. I never heard it.
I don't know. I feel like my mom once mentioned maybe she Jewwitches at Isabella Friedman.
Well, there is a thing at Isabella Friedman called a Kohenet, which is like a female priestess. Right. And there's a whole, like, kind of like rabbinical school. There's a whole training institute that they have at Isabella Friedman where women go and they become ordained as a Kohenet, which is basically a Jewwitch, but they don't call it that. It's like a female priestess getting back to like the divine feminine and like earth-based practices and all this stuff. And we know, I mean, we could name drop a lot of women we know who are graduates of this program, but I wonder if they would feel comfortable with the term Jewwitch.
Right. I don't know. But I'm obsessed. And so she's a Jewwitch. Faye's a Jewwitch. And she's like into a lot of holistic stuff. No surprise there. But she's like, there's teas and herbs and ashwagandha. There's a lot. There's a lot
she's
of
making potions. She's making amulets.
Exactly. There's crystals. There's potions. There are countless self-help books in her tiny apartment.
Yes.
Walls. I'm not saying this as a joke. It's in the book.
Yeah. It's
walls and walls of self-help books, books, crystals, candles, patchouli is burning. Like she's into holistic self-helpy stuff.
Right. There's one point where her friends are trying to get pregnant and she's like, oh, I forgot my amulet I made for you guys for fertility. And she just like hangs it to them and tells them where to put it. This is just like part of daily life in Woodstock.
Exactly, because they live in Woodstock and this is the way it is.
Yeah. Friends are bringing over amulets.
Like reminiscent, like a good friend of ours moved to the Hudson Valley and like, you know, this to me seems like something that could happen. Like, you know, I feel like I could say something to Daniela and she can like hand me a special kind of mushroom that like I'm going to need, you know, like.
Oh, totally. We saw Daniela came by recently and she's like, I feel like also people in this world just sort of use new age terminology that I've never heard in my life as though this is just the way that people talk. And she does that now. And I'm like, she said something. Oh, she was like talking about someone and she was like, I don't know, you know, she has a very difficult soul contract. And then just moved on. And I was like, she has a what? Like, she just said it. Like, that's how you tell, you know, like, oh, she had a hard day. She has a hard soul contract. Like, you know, it's what you talk about. And I was like, I don't know what that is. So yeah, I love that. It's a whole world.
A whole world with a whole vocabulary that, you know, Faye in the book is completely fluent in. But the thing that I like about this book is like in Jean Meltzer's other books, like it's nothing like this. So like I was pleasantly surprised. Like I was kind of expecting like, I don't know, another like basic, this is not that at all. I thought that was super cool.
Yeah. And Jean Meltzer is like really, I know you said, I mean, I know she had a very Jewish upbringing, but it seems like she's just really steeped in the world, like the modern Jewish world in general. Like she can really accurately depict different segments of it, which I don't know. I don't feel like every author we've read can.
Absolutely. This reminds me of something, which is that there was a TikTok from some like, I don't know, Jewish account requesting like, we need someone who has their finger on the pulse of the Jewish community who can make content and blah, blah, blah. And Talia sent it to me and was like, you need to apply. You need this job. I was like, me? She's like, you need this job. Like, of all the people you know, I'm the person who has my finger on the pulse.
That's
like,
so
that
funny.
was the hugest compliment. I was
That's
like,
so
highest
sweet.
praise. Yeah. I didn't apply, by the way, but because I have a full-time job and also podcast with you and have kids. But
yeah, you got a lot going on.
Yeah. Also, like, I don't create content. She's like, well, you would need someone to create the content, but you could feed them the ideas. I was like, I don't care. This is still the best compliment I've ever gotten. I'm not applying for this thing, but very nice. Yeah. Anyway, absolutely. Jean Meltzer actually could apply. Mm-hmm. Because she does have her finger on the pulse. Yeah. So, okay, so basically she forms this man out of clay.
Yes.
And she's drunk and something happens where like in Woodstock, there's like Nazi flyers being like posted around.
Right. There's like an anti-Semitic, the whole town is like papered overnight with these anti-Semitic flyers and they have her face and address on them, I think, as like a Jew in town.
But like, here's the thing, like where I sort of feel like I need to pause, which is that this part of the book's like it was like too much for me because I'm so, I mean, I guess everyone is, but like I'm feeling so upset about anti-Semitism. I'm feeling scared in a way that like I haven't felt in my lifetime. It's like, I feel like as a kid, I would like hear Holocaust stories, and also because it was in black and white and I was a child, like I didn't understand as a child how recent it had been, and like it's just too much. And now with like actual anti-Semitism on the rise and anti-Semitic acts, and then obviously that's like Jean Meltzer's feeling it too. This book just came out, like that's why she's writing about anti-Semitism happening in real time. Yeah. But it's just like, it was almost like hard to I'm already there. Like I'm already too afraid. Totally. It was almost, it was really hard to read. It's scary, really scary.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's like, I think this just speaks to why Jewish romance is, it's such a rich genre for us, because I feel like in so many of these typical romance novels, probably there are like, you know, these villains or whatever. And like, I don't know, it's not so relatable. Like, you know, the villain who kind of like, all of a sudden is in your house and it's sort of like horror movie-esque, which kind of happens at the end of this book. But with this one, that last scene was really scary. Like it was really scary. And I think it's because really of exactly scary. What you're saying. Like this is us. Like we're the, you know, it's really, it hits home. Like it really could be us. It's very, so, and it's, So it's kind of like mixing sort of this light romance, fantastical story with like very real things that are happening today.
Right, right. Because the reason it's fantastical is that these flyers come to town. She goes to the shul. Like, I think she's like very hungover or still drunk or whatever. Goes to the shul for a meeting about this anti-Semitism, or like misses the meeting because she's too hungover or whatever. She shows up and she like hits a guy on her bike, and it's like this giant hot man, and she hits the guy on her bike. And I don't know how to explain it other than it's like a giant hot man who doesn't die, but she has to go with him to the hospital. And then he has total amnesia. He has no idea who he is, and so because they like feel this connection, and she feels kind of guilty, and he has no one, and he obviously wants to get out of the hospital. She's like, why don't you just come home with me? And then slowly he's like, he's not getting his memory, but he has language and skills. And she kind of is like, oh my God, this is the guy I created out of clay. I created my dream man out of clay. And then I manifested him. And he's a golem. Golem, is that how you say it? What?
Golem. Sorry, or Gollum? I don't know.
Gollum. I keep second guessing myself on Gollum. Golem. And she, which is like a Jewish concept.
Yes. Which gets is explained in much more detail in the book than I could ever do. But it's basically, it's like this legend. It's like this legendary Jewish idea that these rabbis created, like created men out of clay or out of non-living materials and gave them life because they were so holy, and that they were used to like do work, but also to kind of like defend the community against anti-Semitism.
Right. So like, this is an actual Jewish concept, and she's a Jewish who drunkenly creates a man out of clay and then hits a man on her bike the next day. And like basically for 300 pages of the book, you're like kind of convinced it's true. Yeah.
Because like, he's like her ideal man is the whole thing. Like as she was making the clay man, she was going through all the things that she wants in a guy. Like everything from like the big things like supportive and trustworthy to like a big reader, like a Scrabble player, like everything that she would want. And this guy is all of it. He's like reading her old bookshelf. He's quoting her self-help books. He plays a great Scrabble game. And he just like right away just is super into her. Also, a side note, is amnesia real?
Well, yes.
Like, could this ever happen? Not the Gollum part, but like, does it really happen that someone has an act? I know people lose like memory immediately. Like if you're sick or whatever, you might lose your memory from right before an event happened. But could you literally wake up and not remember and be fine, but not remember anything?
Have language and total health and not know who you are or where you came from?
Yes. Is that real? Because I feel like
I'd have to do more research.
Right. I question if it could happen, but it doesn't matter.
Great plot line though.
So good. So he's just like, yeah, go on.
No, you go first.
No, I was just going to say, he's like the perfect guy, and he's so perfect that she's like, he's so perfect, I must have created him.
Yes, because this also happened like within a few hours of creating the clay man, plus she's a witch.
Yes.
Steeped in Jewish, tradition.
Yes.
So, one thing that I thought was like hilarious is that her dream man has no memory or thoughts of his own, and his entire personality is built from her self-help books.
Yes.
So everything he reads then becomes a part of his like lexicon and personality, and I love that because then he's using all of this very self-help, jargony self-help language.
Right.
Like soul contract or whatever.
Yeah.
And she really loves it, but also...
Right.
But it's funny to me that like her perfect man is like actually blank until it's filled with all of her books.
Right. I was thinking at one point, a couple points in the book, that if the genders were reversed in this story, we might see it as being sort of like misogynist. Like,
right, like an empty shell of a doll robot becomes alive and then gets like filled with whatever interest the man has.
Right. Whatever interest the man has, thinks the man is amazing and the best person ever. It's like, okay, guy, like that's the kind of woman you want. Like, you're pretty patriarchal.
Without his own personality or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. Yes, I had the same kind of thought. But it was very entertaining. Yes. Also, he's very attracted to her like immediately. Yes. And also, you know that he's very attracted to her, and you kind of like get his perspective also.
Right. Also, she has like a very traumatic childhood that she's like struggling to get over. And it's a lot of her thinking about like the fact that she doesn't believe she's worthy of real love or like worthy of someone this great. Like, she thinks the only way
Right.
someone this great could like her is if she somehow created him, because he couldn't really exist because she's not worthy of it.
Right. But basically for over 300 pages, like you're certain this is real. Like
Yeah.
I mean that like he's a golem and like she's created him and they're getting closer and closer and closer. But also like the anti-Semitic things are rising and there's this like group and like there's a faction of this group in Woodstock.
There's like a
and
cell that's a secret cell of this anti-Semitic group, right? Yeah.
Yes. And like Greg the Golem's like trying to figure out who he is. And there's like a police guy, like the chief of the police in Woodstock. Like he's a character who's like sort of around and like interested in Faye and like has an interest in like helping him figure out who he is. But also like you kind of like he's not sitting quite right with you. And all this stuff's going on in the book. I'll say what the book lacks. It's not steamy. There's attraction.
Right.
But like because of what we have just read, the last two books we read, this real pivot. There's like romance and attraction, but there's nothing happening physically.
Right. There's like a little bit of one sex, they start kind of hooking up a bit toward the middle, but it gets aborted pretty quickly. Like there's really almost nothing.
Yeah, there's like you feel a lot of chemistry.
Yes. One thing that I thought was funny is when the book was describing how hot Greg the Golem is, it describes him at one point as being shaped like a challah.
I love that.
As
like
part
instead
of
of
like how
describing the
sexy he
ass.
is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
like-
his body's like a challah. Which
Wait,
I
love
liked. That was a good one.
Yeah, totally. Like instead of like a 6-pack or an 8-pack, it's like the like challah rolls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing that I also thought was funny was like at one point when I don't know, the main character, what was her? Oh, Faye. Her face is on these flyers, and her friends are like, "Are you nervous? Like, we're nervous about you being alone here." Blah blah blah. And she's like, "I'm gonna be fine. Like, I took a Krav Maga class in college." Which I thought was so funny. I feel like everybody, all the Jewish women I know, always harken back to some like Israeli self-defense class that they took in college.
Yeah, totally.
That like 20 years later they're gonna call upon. That was a funny moment.
Yeah. By the way, like the instructor, like the Israeli instructor of a Krav Maga class would be a great hero in one of these books.
Oh, totally.
Thick accent, hot.
Yeah. Very authoritative, absolutely.
And like also like you're gonna be safe. I will protect you.
Exactly, of course.
Like really good.
Yeah.
So the other thing I liked about this book is I feel this is the first book where the word schwanz has been used to describe a penis.
Oh my God, you're right.
Like given that we've read so many books and like there's been schlemiel, I think. Like
right.
Also there were made up words in the
schmeckle.
other book. Oh, schmeckle, yes, schmeckle, sorry.
The made up words.
There's been tons of different books. There was the made up words. So many different words, used to describe the penis. But schwanz. I mean, this is the first one. How could this be even?
Right. I always associate that as being a German word more than a Jewish word. Is it?
Yiddish.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I guess it's it.
Yeah, I think it might be like an Venn diagram.
Right. It's both.
There's probably overlap.
I like it. Schwanz.
Yeah, it's great.
It's good. Yeah. Note to romance novel authors.
Yeah.
Underutilized.
We want more schwanz.
Yeah, absolutely.
But thank you to Jean for that. Anyway, I don't know if we should like spoil the whole thing. Like we can, but like basically anti-Semitism is rising. Meanwhile, Greg's trying to figure out who he is. Like at one point, like he finds a hotel room. At one point, it gets like a little true crimey just for like one single chapter.
Yeah. Because also then he starts trying to like. That's the whole thing is like he's trying to protect her. So then he starts hunting down these anti-Semites. And the whole time you're like.
There's a lot of Nazi hunters.
You're like, is he doing this because he cares about her? Like, because he cares about her? Or is he doing it because he really is a golem and his role is to protect her?
Right. It's unclear.
Right.
But that's why I was like, I'm convinced. And then at one point, the spell is broken. I think after they kiss, the spell's broken.
Right.
His memory comes back.
That's toward the end.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm there. Am I skipping too much?
No. The spell's broken. Yeah. No, go on. You're not.
At one point, back to the true crimey part. Like at one point, there's a hotel room, and he's like sees a
Yeah,
burner phone and a duffel, and he like
Yeah.
figures he sees a flyer for this. He's like, wait, was I one of these not like anti-Semites? Like, was I one of these like white supremacist Nazi anti-Semites? Or like he doesn't understand what's happening, but like
Right.
he's very frightened because he's been trying to protect her the whole time, and then he's worried that he is one, and he can't remember that.
Yes.
I didn't want that to happen.
No,
I
no,
really
no,
didn't
no,
want
that would have been
to be
bad.
the story.
I did like, you know how you've always talked about how you like when there's like text messages or whatever back and forth, like DMs, whatever in a book. I like that this book had her asking AI a series of questions about golems. That was very cute to me because it was exactly the way it would really be to have a conversation with an AI, like to be asking a series of questions where like first all the answers sound very like reliable and normal, but then as you keep asking questions, it becomes more and more like unhinged and it's just giving you like random things as facts. So, and she like gets really rattled by it.
Yeah. Yeah, she like goes into like her AI bot and is asking a lot of trying to find out also like how do you destroy a golem? Like she's doing a lot of research.
Yeah.
At one point she goes to a new agey rabbi who's an expert.
Yes. And she learns all about his take on golems. And at one point she's like, you know, because I'm a Jewish. And he's just like, okay. Like he just takes that in stride. Like, sure, a Jewish.
Yeah.
Like
a dime a dozen.
Yeah, exactly.
Up here where I am in the mountains, a dime a dozen.
Right. Another one, right.
Anyway, turns out his name really was Greg.
Yeah, that was not sufficiently acknowledged. Like, how could his name have really been Greg? She names him Greg, and then randomly his name is Greg?
He was like, when they were like trying to name him, he was trying to name himself. He like was like looking at like a truck or a sign or like a billboard. I can't remember what he was looking at. And he saw something and it was like someone's Gregory was something like he saw the word Gregory in print and was like, I'll go by Greg.
So he probably picked that because he knew that was actually his name. I see.
Yeah. Like somewhere inside.
Still seems a little fortuitous, but okay. Okay.
Listen, a lot of supernatural stuff in this book.
Yes. But also like, nothing overt, you know what I mean? It was pretty like she was a Jewish, so she was seeing the world that way, but nothing like there was no overt miracle that happened or anything that like if you weren't.
What I'm saying is for at least 300 pages, I thought there was, but then it turns out he was just a guy who lost his memory.
Right. And then in the end,
he got his memory back. He got his memory back. He realized who he was. He spent time with his, like, luckily he wasn't a married guy with a bunch of kids, like, you know, and all of a sudden he remembered that he was married and went back to his, like, gorgeous wife. No, he was, like, a single guy who had sort of been, like, a commitment phobe and, like, wasn't really able to commit. And he was undercover trying to figure out, like, how to infiltrate these white supremacist Nazis. So like he was doing that. Like the reason there was a burner phone in one of those flyers is because like he was an undercover, you know, investigator trying to figure out, like get to the bottom of this and figure this out and like get rid of them.
Right.
So that was really good. But then the craziest spoiler of all is that like the police chief who's sort of really into Faye was like the king of the Nazis.
He was actually the ultimate undercover Nazi. And then there was that really scary scene where he's like in the house alone with her. That really, like, I've never read that. That scene felt like it could have been in a movie, but I was really scared there for a minute.
Me too. It was too much. Like, I loved the book. Mm-hmm. And I also just like feel like, given that I've read her other books, like I just feel like she's such a great writer and like capable of writing so many different things. Like I loved the book. But it was too much because of how I'm feeling. Like it was terrifying. It was really
intense. Yeah.
Like the person you trust most, she really trusted the police.
Yeah,
the chief of police in her small town, who like she had gone on a date with, who she like saw someone she trusts, who checked in on her, throwing bricks through her window, no,
insane.
Making the flyers king of the Nazis, absolute nightmare.
That he could have become the chief of police while he was like a secret Nazi. Like that's pretty dark.
Yes. But it's like, she's obviously afraid and like this is how she's expressing it.
Yeah, totally. Also, Faye has a little dog named Hillel.
Oh yeah, love that.
Because we've talked in the past about pets with like Jewish names or whatever. So this is another one. Yeah. Dog named Hillel.
Love that.
Yeah, love really that. Cute. And he like kind of is like her protector. They had like that was a cute little like side story.
Not side story. Like, there's also so much like kosher. kosher hard salami in this book.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it's a euphemism. Like, she just loves salami.
Yeah. That salami sounded really good. And then Greg like cuts the perfect slice of salami.
You know, in my apartment, one of my apartments, the one I lived in, it was like, I called it a neo-Hasidic frat house because like it was me and a bunch of these types of guys.
Yeah.
Not like Greg, like Faye.
Yeah.
There was like a salami like hanging from the ceiling that Jesse hung from this. You know about this? Do you know about this? Do you remember this at all?
I don't remember.
There was like a salami hanging from the ceiling in the kitchen that was like slowly dripping a trickle of like salami oil onto the top of the lid of the garbage can, like slowly over time.
That's
like
disgusting.
Also, like when I have an aversion to a food that's come up on this podcast, and you know well, like I can't even like handle like. For example, on Sunday, we went to my nephew's upshare and it was adorable. I should tell you about it. All the listeners would be interested because everyone got a snip. I've never seen that before. Like, have you had that where like everyone gets a snip and then like his haircut is done? Like literally we all went around like cutting a snip of Mordecai's hair.
Oh, a snip of hair. I've seen that before. Yeah. That's really cute.
Okay. Yeah. It was really cute. But anyway, like at the end, we were like cleaning up bagels, this, that. Like I said to Mitch, I was like, I want to help clean up, but like there's a plate of tuna. Like I can't even get it. Like when I have an aversion, like I can't even like
you can't go
clean the plate of the thing I can't eat. So there was like salami oil like collecting on the lid of our garbage can, but like I couldn't even address it because like that's a food I have an aversion to. So like I can't like spray.
Oh, you have an aversion to
Lysol
salami, right?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Okay. I hear you.
Anyway, so the salami like very much reminded me of this salami that was like revered in my apartment, like this amazing salami, but like I was completely repulsed by.
That's
like
an
smelling up my
insane
house.
living condition, and I can't believe that happened. It's not.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
Yeah. And like one time he was like, have you been using my shampoo? And I was like, using your shampoo? Like, yeah, I've been using your shampoo. You're like, look what you're doing to my home.
Seriously. Oh, that's a boundary? Okay.
Like, that's the boundary.
Right.
He had like nice organic, like Fairway shampoo. Yeah, I'm using it.
Right, of course. Clean that fucking kitchen garbage lid, dude.
Get the salami out of my house. I think it was a vegetarian apartment. Anyway.
It was.
It was for a time. Okay. So, anyway, I guess it's a happily ever after.
It really is. Yeah. It's a good, which I think we needed given how dark the book was. Like, not dark, the book wasn't dark, but given how sort of relevant and the anti-Semitism bit was, I feel like we needed a positive
Listen,
ending.
between the anti-Semitism and the abusive childhood, there were very dark elements to the book.
That was dark too. Yeah, you're right.
You know, content warning, when content warnings are due, those two things are dark and powerful.
Yes.
But also, you know, there's like tons of humor in the book and like friendships and this like major attraction and like really great protective sexy guy who loves her so much and cares about her so much and totally sees her for who she is, you know, with all the other stuff. So there's a lot in this book.
Totally. Yeah.
And there's
she's very
lot
relatable.
of Judaism.
Yeah. Tons of Judaism.
There's a lot of Judaism woven in because and we have a little surprise visit about from the babka, the pumpkin spice babka. The pumpkin spice babka makes an appearance.
Right. At the very beginning, they're like, "Come to Single in the Sukkah. We got the pumpkin spice babka." That was cute.
Yeah.
Single in the Sukkah was cute. I feel like
fun.
Sukkot is an underutilized holiday in Jewish romances.
Oh, it absolutely is, and it's also like because it's like so like the harvesty. It's like it's the huts, the you know the sukkahs, the season.
Yeah,
sexy, very sexy.
Has a lot of potential, I think.
Absolutely.
So I appreciated
agree.
she took advantage of that a little bit.
Me too. I wonder if she did that intentionally because the book was coming out end of August and like Sukkot's coming up, and if that was on her radar at all.
I hope so. Yeah, it feels like a book of its time.
Yeah. Oh, definitely it does. Also, because there was a lot of like post-COVID things noted in the book, like
references to that.
We're like, you know, I think a lot of media can kind of gloss over it as if it didn't happen, but this was like talking like I guess there's part of the like a tie-in with the anti-Semitism was that like some of these anti-Semites were blaming COVID on the Jews. You know, there's
Yeah.
I think it was like I think it was her way of like bringing up anti-Semitism without naming, like, I think I don't know, but like without talking about, anything that's going on in Israel.
Yeah.
Like
There was
using,
nothing about Israel. Right.
Exactly. Like bringing up anti-Semitism, through another lens, which is, anti-Semitism's, an age-old thing. And
Yeah,
so
this was
it
much
could,
more like white supremacist Ku Klux Klan sort of style anti-Semitism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I loved it.
So good. Loved reading it.
And I feel very excited that we got an advanced reader copy and we got to read it in advance. So we get to talk about it before it even comes out. So today when this episode comes out, everybody could read it.
It's really exciting. That was a big milestone for us. So thank you to Jean Meltzer for giving us that.
Huge milestone, our first advanced reader copy.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything else about the book you wanted to share?
No, I think we got through. I think that was everything for me.
Yeah. Loved it.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed it. And I can't wait to see what she whips up next.
I know. She's going to be on our radar now ongoing.
Although I will say this, like Jean Meltzer, if you're listening, I hope that you're feeling well because I've been following her on Instagram and she's been doing all this press for this book and sending out all these like kits to, bookstagrammers and this and that. And meanwhile, she wrote a whole post that like through all the stuff she was doing and like press and work and working her tush off, she had a broken shoulder the whole time and didn't know it.
Oh my God.
So she like fully is like someone with chronic pain for like all the stuff that we read about in other books, but like also has been walking around and living with a broken shoulder without knowing it.
Oy.
So a refuah shalema to Jean Meltzer.
Seriously, that's terrible.
I know.
Okay, well, I hope that maybe she has some of her own Jewish powers also. And that's part of, what she was drawing from.
Yeah, I hope that she heals herself with some
amulets or
potions.
I don't know, smoking
amulets,
sage,
potions, crystals,
whatever it is.
Prayer.
Yeah.
Okay, should we tell our listeners what we're reading next?
Yes.
Okay, this is another book that comes out today.
Wow, big day in the Jewish romance world.
Big day.
Yeah.
Big day. So the publisher of this book reached out to us, and this is a book called Cave of Secrets by Lynn Galadner. It is on Kindle Unlimited for free. Not free if you have Kindle Unlimited. It's something that I indulge in.
Cool.
And you can get it on paperback or ebook or anything. And it's, let me read you the description. I have counted the days until you would return to my waiting arms, my insistent kisses, but now I know you never will. On a rainy hike in Loch Lomond. There's a good song. I told you there's a song about Loch Lomond I loved. On a rainy hike by Loch Lomond, Eve Waldman stumbles upon a perfectly preserved journal in a hidden cave. The time-worn lettering details the illicit affair of two Jewish lovers that sent a shiver of shame through a Scottish family and echoes down the bloodlines. Born of Highland aristocracy, Mac Monteith prefers to spend his days behind the bar of the family pub rather than live the life his parents desired for him. Then Eve walks through the door, stirring more than Mac's long, dormant heart. When Eve traces the cave documents to the Monteith line, scandals and secrets spill out from all sides. Eve remains committed to the truth, but when being truthful means hurting the man she loves, she's forced to make a bigger choice: righting the wrongs of the past or building the future she's yearned for. A contemporary romance with hints of magical realism, Cave of Secrets is about family heritage, intergenerational trauma, and finding the courage to be honest with ourselves and those who love us.
Sounds good.
This is going to be one of my favorite books we've ever read. I'm certain of it.
Wow. Okay.
I love books that take place in Scotland.
Okay.
I'm very horny for Scottish romance. I have never read a Jewish Scottish romance.
Wow, here we are. That's amazing.
I am going to love it. By the way, this description goes on. Oh no, it's just reviews. They sound very good.
Amazing.
Cave of Secrets transports readers on a timeless journey to Scotland while weaving a captivating tale of love, identity, and legacy. Lynn Galadner highlights family history and expectations that eventually force her characters to make difficult choices. Sprinkled with secrets and a touch of magical realism, this novel is a must-read. By Merle A. Saperstein, author of Living and Leaving My Legacy, Volumes 1 and 2. Anyway,
Okay.
I can't wait.
That sounds awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, so this is our next book, Cave of Secrets.
Cool.
And I'm psyched. So if you're reading along, read along with us. It also comes out today. And we'll be back. This podcast is produced by William Levin. We have a new sponsor, Mal. Did you want to tell us about?
Oh, sure. New sponsor, Cannabis de Bris, is our Instagram sponsor. Check it out on Instagram. It's William's new hobby Instagram account, Cannabis de Bris. I should know.
Okay, great. And our sponsor since... Oh, yeah, you go first. You go first.
Oh, sorry. And Sammy, who's my son, also has an Instagram, and he asked if he could be a sponsor too. So Cannabis de Bris, CANNABIS DEBRIS. Check it out on Instagram. And Sammy Levin chip reviews the Budge 15. The Budge BUDGE 15. A lot going on Instagram with the Levin family. You should see all of it.
So the Budge reviews chips.
The Budge reviews chips. He reviews potato chips of various kinds. Sometimes his younger siblings show up and give their own opinions about chips, but it's him talking chips.
Yeah, so if you want to hear about some chips, that's Malya's son, my nephew, on Instagram.
That's right.
Okay. Also, our OG sponsor still sponsoring us, Hanukkah Pong. Not too early to get your Hanukkah gifts. Menorah-shaped beer pong game available at newishtraditions.com, and put in your code Hanukkah Erotica, HANUKKAHEROTICA for 20% off your game. Amazing. Follow us, leave us a review, let us know what you think in the DMs on Instagram. We're so happy that you're listening and enjoying. Thank you to Jean Meltzer for this awesome book, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.